diabetes.
Alright. Hey, what's going on, guys? I'm just coming at you with this video, and I just thought it'd be a little fun to come sit down and chat with you guys a little bit. Just kind of have a little story time, I guess. I'm thinking I'll probably call this like casual Beetus chats or something like that. I don't know. I guess you guys will see in the title of the video. But, anyways, today for my first little chat I wanted to have with you guys. Well, seeing as how the name of this channel is Casual Diabetic YT, I figured, and I've kind of made a running joke of diabetes throughout the channel. So I figured it'd be appropriate to kind of share with you guys the story of how I first learned I was diabetic and everything that led up to it, and just kind of how my life has been impacted by it. So this might be, quite a longer video. So hopefully you'll be willing to sit back and just enjoy my storytelling of it. And I mean, like I told you guys in the first video that I wanted to share this with you guys. So I thought it'd be a good idea to share it as one of my first videos. And I don't have anything like in specific that I want to talk about. Like I said, I'm doing all these videos off the top of my head, so I don't have a script or anything. But anyways, so it all started thinking back to about January of 2013. So at that time I was 14 in 8th grade, and I can't remember like exactly when or what instances occurred first, but I think the first thing I remembered was it all started one morning. I had woken up and I had wet the bed, and I was 14 at the time, and so I was kind of just like weirded out, like thinking, what the heck, a 14-year-old kid is not supposed to wet the bed. I told my mom, and we just kind of thought it was a freak occurrence. But I think that was on like a Friday morning I had woken up. So then the next, go throughout the day, and that night I decided to have a sleepover with my cousins at their house, and they had a blow-up air mattress. My aunt pulls that out and says, "Hey guys, come sleep on this air mattress tonight." And we were like, "Okay, cool." I didn't really think anything again of, wetting the bed, but I woke up at 4:35 in the morning. I just thought it was weird, and I was like, what the heck? And I looked and went into the bathroom, checked my pants, and I had wet the bed again. So I was like, what the heck is going on? So I felt bad because I totally ruined. I'm pretty sure it was a brand new. A brand new. It was a brand new air mattress, and so I felt bad. So I just kept going. Just told my mom about it again, and she was like, "What the heck is going on?" And over the next week or two, I kept wetting the bed every other night, or a couple times a week. So then my mom decided, okay, you know what, with all this happening, you can't drink water after this time, and let's see what happens. So we would try it, and there were some nights I'd be okay doing it, but then there were some nights where I was so thirsty that I had to drink water, and typically on those nights, those were the nights that I would have wet the bed. So I started sleeping with a towel in my bed, in case it did happen. And along with that, it wasn't just something that was occurring at night. I started noticing I was always thirsty, and I was going to the bathroom constantly throughout the day. Pretty much every 20-30 minutes, I was going to the bathroom. I'd basically take a drink, and 20-30 minutes, it was almost guaranteed I'd be running to the bathroom. So that was one of the bigger signs and symptoms of it. Another symptom was, I'm pretty active. I love playing basketball, and so at that time it was, January, so I was in the middle of my basketball season, and I'd be playing basketball a lot, and I noticed I didn't have the same amount of energy, and I noticed I was getting cramps a lot. I remember there was one particular instance that was, it was terrible. So we're at my church playing basketball, and we're at the church building and just playing basketball, like going along with the night, just having a good time. And I remembered I'm running down the court, and both my calves cramped up, and I just collapsed to the ground. And I'd get these cramps, and it was just terrible, and I just didn't have the same energy. Like, I remember there was one game that, like, really showed that I was not in good health. And I remember my dad and I had gotten breakfast before the game. After the game, I run to the bathroom at the middle school that we were playing at, and I just sat over the toilet. I didn't throw up, but I just felt so nauseous and just terrible. Like, it was seriously awful, and I did not know what the deal was. I thought it was, food poisoning, like eating crap, like pancakes and stuff before the basketball game. But it didn't end up being that. Come to find out, a couple weeks later. But then it comes to a few days before I get the diagnosis from the doctor. But I'm at school, and there was a couple days, 1 week, where I would go to school, I would go into each class, fall asleep as soon as the period started. Once the bell rang, I'd go to the other class, lay my head down on the desk, wake up when the bell rang at the end of the class period, go to the next class. And multiple people told me I looked like a zombie. My aunt told my mom, she was like, "Lori, your Riley looks like a zombie." And I sure as heck felt like one. I guess, yeah, I kind of know what it feels like to be a zombie, but so after, a couple days of doing that, my mom says, "Okay, Riley, go to school, and if you're still feeling crappy, give me a call, and I'll check you out of school, and we'll take you to the doctor and figure out what the heck's going on with you." And I guess one thing I forgot to mention too is, I'd been telling my dad about all this stuff. He'd been seeing it too, and he was like, "Maybe you have diabetes." We didn't really take it too seriously when he said that. It's because his dad, my grandpa, was type 2 diabetic, so my dad kind of knew enough about diabetes. But we kind of just didn't really think much of it. But come to find out, he was right. But anyway, so I go to school that day, and it's the same deal. So my mom was at work, so she had my aunt come check me out of school. And my aunt brought me home. My mom left work, and she took me to the doctors. And we went to the doctors. First thing they did was they checked my urine and did the urine test, and then they also pricked my finger, checked my blood sugar. Well, the doctor leaves the office. I'm sitting there. My mom's like kind of worrying. I'm just like, what the heck's going on with me? And the doctor comes in. This doctor had a lisp, and he walks into the room, and he's like, "Okay, checked over the results of your blood test, and test your blood sugar and your urine test, and your ketone levels were extremely high, your blood sugar was super high." And my mom asks him, "So, doctor, does this mean he has diabetes or something?" And he looks us in the eye, and in the moment it was extremely devastating, but looking back it was hilarious, because he had this lisp, and he turns to my mom and I, and he's like, "Oh, there's no question that he's got diabetes." So he told me with his lisp, no question I had diabetes. And so he says, "Okay, we're going to send you to the hospital. Like, you need to go to the hospital. They're going to help you get your blood sugar in check, because your blood sugar was at like 480. Your ketone levels were like off the charts." So I went home and packed my bags. And like my aunt and uncle, they came over, kind of make sure everything was okay. My mom told them the news, and I left for the hospital that night, and I was in the hospital for the next 3 days. The hospital wasn't that bad. As a 14-year-old kid, my first knee-jerk reaction was, cool, I get to miss school. Oh, and one of the first things I say to my mom once we get back from the doctors after the diagnosis is, I turn to her and I'm like, Mom, does this mean I can't eat Gushers anymore? Of all the things in the world for me to be worried about, I'm concerned about whether or not I can eat Gushers. So, because I didn't know anything about diabetes. But anyway, so I went to the hospital, got things figured out. I was able to pick things up pretty quickly. I think that was kind of a great blessing with being diagnosed at that age, was being able to, be smart enough and, be quick enough to learn and pick things up. And it also helped too, because not only was my dad's dad diabetic, which he ended up passing away from it in 2010 from type 2 diabetes, but my mom's dad is also type 2 diabetic, and he was able to come to the hospital and visit me a couple times, and he was able to help me a lot during those beginning stages through the diagnosis. And so shout out to Grandpa Clark. And so I get out of the hospital, and it was challenging. It was one thing, figuring out in the hospital, but then as a 14-year-old kid leaving the hospital, leaving the comfort there and, the help from all the doctors and stuff, and going back to trying to function, a normal, daily life, going to school and dealing with it at school. And for, the first year I had to be on shots. And so, I would have to getting comfortable with, letting the teacher know I had to leave class early to go take my shots. And for the first little while, I had to have a buddy with me, someone from that class, the class before the lunch period would have to come with me to the bathroom and kind of help me with, getting my shot and everything like that. So, I don't know, it was quite the lifestyle change. So the first month was rather difficult for me, but I think I learned really quickly because I was able to pick it up super quick. Like I said before, getting it at 14 was honestly a great blessing. But eventually, though, as time went on, I learned that it wasn't actually all that difficult. It was difficult because I was just it's like learning anything new. Eventually you kind of forget what it's like to not have that lifestyle. And eventually I reached a point to where I honestly can't remember what it's like to live life without diabetes. And to be quite frank, of all the, diseases, illnesses, of anything to have had, diabetes is one of the most manageable, and it alters your life compared to other diseases rather minimally. So, it's been a challenge, it's been a trial in my life, but it's helped me learn a lot, and it hasn't been the most difficult thing I've dealt with. I've definitely had to go through a lot more challenges and struggles that have been harder than dealing with diabetes. And it overall, other than those first, few months, in those first few months, whenever I'd go out to eat, I would have to have apps on my phone to tell me how much carbs were in food, because I didn't know anything about the stuff that I was eating. But eventually I learned, I was able to look at something and it was pretty quick. I was able to just look at something and tell you how many carbs was in it. And I realized that, you don't have to just eat vegetables and, low carb stuff. I mean, you need carbs. And so, thankfully, I could still eat Gushers. I wasn't too disappointed by the fact that I couldn't eat Gushers, because I still could. So, I guess that was a great blessing as a 14-year-old kid. I could still eat my Gushers. But, so I picked it up pretty quickly and learned that diabetes, while it is, life-changing, it's not as life-changing as some might think. And I think a lot of that, too, just comes down to attitude and being optimistic about something and not allowing a challenge to be greater than it needs to be. And I think for anyone that watches this video who may have just been diagnosed or knows a family member that's been diagnosed or will be diagnosed in the future, or is just hearing this story, like learning about this, trying to learn how to handle and manage type 1 diabetes, it's going to be hard at first, but eventually you'll realize your life won't have changed that much as long as you manage it well and keep yourself in balance. And I've been really lucky and extremely grateful to have, had my parents there to help me, my mom especially, have, friends that love me and are concerned about my health and have been able to learn enough from me about it to make sure that I remain in good health and that I make it a priority to stay healthy. And because of that, in my close to 9 years of living with diabetes, 8.5, 9 years of living with diabetes, I've never had an A1C above 7, I think, which is extremely good. So yeah, I've been extremely, blessed in that regard with living with it. But I guess some funny things to share about it. So with the challenges that it's brought and with the things that it's changed in my life, it's also helped me a lot to have legitimate excuses to get out of things. For example, in high school, I played baseball. Was extremely active, and there were some days where we would be doing, crazy, running because we got, getting punished by the coaches or whatever. And thankfully, I was able to use that as an excuse sometimes to get out of things, or, at work or in school, using it as an excuse to get out of certain things. So that's a great blessing to having diabetes. Just saying. Hopefully none of my coaches or teachers or bosses from work are watching this, but yes, it has helped me a lot in getting out of things that I don't want to do. I promise I'm not that lazy. But yeah, I guess if you guys have like any questions or things that you might want to learn or want me to go more in depth with, maybe in another video or just to share with you personally, through messages over social media or just down in the comments, just let me know in the comments or reach out to me personally if you know me, and I'd love to be able to go over that with you. Oh, and I guess one other thing I forgot to share, this is so out of place, but because I was talking about it 10 minutes ago, but eventually after a year I was able to get off the shots, and now I am on a insulin pump, and I've been on an insulin pump for a little over 7 years now, which has helped a ton. And I also recently in January got on a Dexcom, which is a CGM, continued glucose monitor. So rather than pricking my finger, I have this little thing inside me that I'll put on my stomach or my back, and it continuously checks my blood sugar for me. So, the tools and the advances that have been made in taking care of diabetes has made it so simple for a lot of people. So, if you've been newly diagnosed, don't worry. That medical, like, there's been so many medical advances with diabetes that that make it so simple in your life for you to take care of it. And I remember in the hospital, because personally, I think I could definitely see within my lifetime there being a point when I no longer have to live with diabetes. If there isn't, then so be it, and that's fine. But I remember my endocrinologist, so my diabetes doctor, had told me that, within my lifetime, I could most likely see a cure for type 1 diabetes, and I genuinely believe that. How that will come, in what way that will be, cell regeneration, iron pancreas, whatever it might be, I could definitely see a future to where I no longer have to live with diabetes. But yeah, I think that about does it for this video. That's about everything that I had to share. But that's kind of my story, living with type 1 diabetes. So if you know someone that is type 1 diabetic, I highly recommend you just sharing this with them. I'd love for them to be able to hear my story, relate with them. If they want to reach out to me and talk about it, then that would mean the world to me too. And I guess as well, I just want to give some shout outs to some of my diabetes friends and family. But shout out to my grandpa, both my grandpas, one who's passed, and my grandpa Clark, who's been an extreme help for me, especially in those beginning, those first couple of years. Shout out to my boy Brad. Grateful for him. He was diagnosed probably 6 months after me, so big shout out to Brad. And then to my other Beetus brother, Alex. Alex, you know who you are. I'm grateful for you, bro. And Alex and I played baseball together in high school. We were on the same team, so it was nice kind of having, a diabetes brother, in the locker room and out on the field to share and to enjoy the Beetus life with. So shout outs to them. And anyways, I appreciate you guys who have listened and watched this video, and as well appreciate you guys that have watched my other videos. I know that you guys might not be as interested in some of the other videos that I'm posting, playing these Lord of the Rings games and stuff, but like I said, I want to make content that I enjoy, and I'm going to make sure that I put my best effort into making it content that you guys can enjoy as well. And don't be afraid to share these videos with people you might know who might enjoy it, and don't be afraid to check out those other videos. And if you don't want to, then obviously I'm not going to force you guys to do it. But if you guys can leave a like and comment if you want. But anyways, I appreciate all and any support that you guys give me. So thanks a ton. Love y'all, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.